This video has nothing to do with miniature painting, but if you have any interest in how a YouTube video is made, or at least how I make mine, then this will shine some light on my process. In this video, I'll be taking specific steps to reduce the time it takes me to create a YouTube video for miniature painting. Last year, I started recording how long it takes me to paint a miniature, and somewhere along the way, I decided to start keeping track of how long it takes me to edit a video, do the voiceover, and the photography. As expected, the more time and effort I put into a miniature came an equivalent growth of steps needed to get a better finished product, which also equated to longer editing times, to the point that editing some videos took nearly as long as painting the miniature itself. When I first started painting, editing times was easy to keep down as I only filmed a few minutes of each step, so there would be significantly less footage to sift through. However, the drawback with that approach is that it's easy to unintentionally fall out of focus from under the camera, or if the miniature had a long arm or cloak, then the wrong part of the miniature would become in focus. To maximize the amount of good footage to pull from, it became easier to just film everything from start to end. This also makes metrics for each step easy to keep up with, as I can just see how long the video was. So, unfortunately, having a lot of footage to sift through is just something I'm going to have to live with. However, there are some changes that'll help me in the long run, and I've put together a quick list to tackle tonight. I have 3 main templates that I work from, and when I say template, I mean a partially pre-configured file that I copy and paste to start from for each new video, reducing the amount of steps I need to get the final product, and also helping to ensure I maintain a reoccurring format for each video. The first template is a CS6 Photoshop template for building thumbnail images such as these. The second is a Microsoft 2021 Word document that has a checklist of items to ensure I didn't miss something, a sample time chart, and some basic descriptive text such as a disclaimer I use about me absolutely never asking anyone for money or personal information. This is also where I type out my script for voiceovers or reminders of references that I want to make. The third template is for PowerDirector 20, which is my video editing software, and just to get this out of the way, if you're tech savvy and asking, Jim, why the hell are you using these old versions of applications? It's because they're the last version you can purchase with a license key and doesn't require a monthly subscription. I'd like to buy to own, I don't want to rent. Anyway, each of these 3 templates need updates, as there are some things that I've changed and it's causing me to have to redo steps for each video. By fixing these, it'll shave some time and allow me to move on to the next project that much quicker. Let's take a look at my template folder, but first I'll make a copy and put the original into my backup. That way I can easily roll back to the previous template structure in case I break or lose something, and we'll remove the copy tag in the name while we're at it. Inside, there are 3 templates previously discussed. The video template is just called template, so I'm going to rename it to video template, as by tonight there'll also be a new audio template and I want to easily be able to tell them apart. Starting to clean up with the Photoshop template, there are already some things I can get rid of, such as the airbrush or oils markers. I stopped using them as I don't really have the traffic for them to matter. Maybe one day I'll have enough visits to justify them as a notice, but for now, they can go. The next thing is to clean up the logos I use for each of the brands of paints and miniature producing companies I paint miniatures from. These are not all a similar size, and I have to resize them on the fly as needed. So to remedy that, I check each one and resize them to match each other now. Next, I remove the static white lines. I still use them often enough, but it's faster to create a new one that's the right size than it is to identify which layer is for which line and then resize it. So away they go. I remove the existing images, as I have to either delete them later or at least make sure the new image is stacked on top of them to hide it. Since I'm going through the trouble of updating the template, let's go ahead and clean it up the right way. Next, I reorder the layers on the right, grouping my own logo with its own white background box. Then grouping all of the paint companies I use products from with their own white background box. And finally, all the miniature company logos are grouped together with their own white box. I then hit Control S to save my changes because I'm a Windows user, and then I test my template by importing a new image and going through the process of creating a thumbnail. I drag in my raw image taken with my Canon EOS Rebel with a 100mm macro lens that's still using default manual settings before zooming out, and then holding the left shift to maintain the aspect ratio of the image as I drag it to fill the 1280 by 720 pixel template. I then drag my logo with its white box to the bottom left and the primary product logos I use to the bottom right, as this is typically where I put them. I then delete the image and save the template before I close it. Going forward, as long as I don't need to add a new logo, building a thumbnail should take less than 5 minutes, including opening Photoshop and exporting out the finished image. To also add, I do not do any post brightness changes with software, or any type of smudge or smoothing tools or effects. The pictures taken with my camera are how they look. If something looks good, it's because I did good. If something looks like crap, it's because I painted like crap. With that one off the list, let's move next to the Microsoft Word template. I'm going to copy this section down as it's going to be deleted later in this video. You can also get rid of this line as it pertained to when I filmed myself for intros and outros, which I no longer do, mainly as it knocks 15 minutes off editing by itself. I don't list what brushes I use anymore either, so let's get rid of this. I'm going to change the order of these two. And now let's add a sample for the estimated time spent painting and editing. Wait, why is the sample time stamps messed up? Let me add back the leading double zeros, and then I can type in a sample painted and editing section. So how I use this template is that I complete the bullet points at the top and then I delete them one at a time until all of them are done. I also write my script in this document, and after the video and voiceovers are finished, I fill out the timestamp and estimated painting and editing time charts, and then I can just copy and paste these into the description field when uploading the video to YouTube. And with this now updated and some small sections added and some deprecated steps removed, I can hit Ctrl S to save my changes. Moving on to the video template now, the bottom row is the timeline of the video going left to right. The outro animations for the like, comment, share, subscribe, and my own logo, along with the paint brand and color bar, are all located at the start. This is so I can easily find them and copy and paste them as needed. This template has a handful of minor changes that are needed, such as some text spacing corrections such as the Army Painter bar, as well as a need to add additional paint brand companies that I have started to use over the last year or two. I had already added some of these brands a while ago, so let's start marking them off. Dalerani and Amsterdam are already there, so they can go. I then start adding in all the missing ones that I've had to do manually as needed for each of the previous videos I made. It doesn't take that long, but it does take time, so I have to image crop and resize, and this is just work that can be done in one sitting instead of every time I make a video. I then add the horizontal warping effect to each image so that it flies on and off screen along with its associated bar of text. If I had forgotten to add the effects, it would look clunky like this. Lastly, in the video template, I need to correct the timing of my logo shrinking during the intro pop. To get this timing right, I copy and paste one of the paint logos and drag it at the end of the intro pop, and then add the deform effect so I have a sample to work with. When I play the intro, this is what it looks like. You can see the Working with Miniatures logo shrink away slower than the circle instead of with it as I want. I drag the logo animation to the left so that it starts to occur earlier in the timeline, and then I test and repeat until I have it entering and exiting at the correct timing. I delete the sample image, hit Ctrl S to save the template, and now I'm done with this one as well. The last thing I'm going to do in this video is to create an audio template. Now the audio template is just going to be a copy of the video template, but with only the music added and edited. By editing, I mean how loud each song is. Each of these songs I wrote or wrote with some friends and composed in and exported out of Guitar Pro 7, also the last licensed version of its family. Now, Guitar Pro 7 is a MIDI-based application, so after I exported the songs, I took that export and dumped it into Reaper, a software editor that I added chorus, distortion, or delay effects as desired. However, I didn't manage the sound levels properly, probably because I was winging it. And because of that, I have to adjust the sound levels of each song differently to ensure it's not too quiet, or more importantly, it's not too loud. So, after importing each song, I returned to my Word template to review the sound level notes that I had taken, and I make each adjustment as needed. Once done, I hit Ctrl S to save my work. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't just do this in the video template and just have it in one, there is a reason. When you have multiple tracks running in parallel, PowerDirector makes some intelligent decisions on how to shift things if you remove sections, but it can't make perfect decisions all the time, and it's easy to shift things to where they no longer line up correctly, and the longer the video is, the longer it'll take to correct the timing of everything. I found the easy way to avoid this problem is to edit the video and cut out as much as you can first, then record in any voiceovers or additional video overlays, and then finally add the soundtrack last. I can now delete the audio level notes from my Word template, and all three templates have now been updated, and I have a fourth one. The Word template will save me about 10 minutes of video, the Photoshop template will save me another 10 to 15 minutes, and the audio template can save me anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes depending on how long the video will end up being. The video template edits, that can save me anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes as well, particularly with all the logos I currently have. In the end, this doesn't sound like it saves me a lot of time, but if it can take me down from 8 hours of editing to 6, that would be huge. And with that said, that'll bring this video to its end. I hope you learned something or are interested in some behind the scenes of what it takes for me to put out a YouTube video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and if you like the content of this video and would like to see more, you can easily support the channel by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. I'm Jim with Working with Miniatures. I'm truly grateful for your time, and I bid you a fond farewell. Until the next video.